Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah.
And I'm Bill, your co-host. We're so excited to have you with us today.
Whether you're walking, studying, or just relaxing, thank you for choosing us to help you learn English naturally and confidently.
Today's episode is super practical and honestly one of the most requested topics from our listeners. We're talking about how to memorize new words smartly.
That's right. So many English learners struggle with this. You see a new word, you learn it, and then poof, it disappears from your mind the next day. Sound familiar?
Oh yes, very familiar. And the truth is, memorizing vocabulary doesn't have to be boring or difficult. You just need the right techniques.
Exactly. In this episode, we'll walk you through smart and effective methods to help you not only remember new words, but actually use them when you speak or write.
So if you've ever said, "Why do I forget new English words so fast?" Or "How can I remember vocabulary for longer?" You're in the right place.
Stay with us till the end, because we'll also share some bonus tips and common mistakes to avoid. Let's do it!
So, before we jump into the solutions, let's talk about the problem. Why is it actually so hard to remember new English words?
That's such a good question. And honestly, it happens to almost every learner. You hear a word, maybe write it down, even repeat it a few times, but later that day or the next week, it's just gone.
Exactly. And it's not because people aren't smart, it's because of how our brains work. Our brains forget things they don't use often. It's called the forgetting curve.
Right. The forgetting curve shows that if you don't review or use new information, your brain will start to forget it very quickly, sometimes even within 24 hours.
And another big reason is learning words without context. Like, if you just memorize a list of words and their meanings without understanding how they're used in real life, it's way harder to remember them.
Oh yes, I remember when I tried to learn French. I made this huge list of vocabulary and tried to memorize it, but because I didn't use the words, they just slipped away.
Been there. I think we've all done that. Another thing is, sometimes learners try to learn too many words at once. Like 30 or 50 new words in one day. That's just too much.
Yes, and then it gets overwhelming and they lose motivation. It's better to learn just a few words at a time, but really learn them deeply.
Absolutely. And sometimes learners don't connect the word to anything meaningful. If you don't make a personal or emotional connection to a word, it just doesn't stick.
So true. That's why we're doing this episode, to show smarter ways to really remember words, not just for a test or one day, but so you can actually use them in daily conversation.
Because, let's be honest, if you can't use the words, what's the point of learning them? Right?
Exactly. So, now that we understand why it's hard to remember new words, let's start talking about smart solutions.
Let's go to tip number 1.
All right, let's jump into our first smart method, using words in context. This is one of the most powerful ways to memorize vocabulary.
Definitely. So what does in context actually mean? It means learning a new word inside a real sentence or situation, not just by itself.
Exactly. For example, if you learn the word excited, you shouldn't just memorize, excited means happy or enthusiastic. That's helpful, but not enough.
Instead, try something like, "I'm really excited about my trip to Paris next week." Now you see how the word is used in a real-life situation.
Right. That sentence helps your brain understand not only the word, but also the feeling, the situation, and how to use it naturally.
And if you're a visual learner, it helps to imagine the scene. Like, picture someone packing a suitcase and smiling excited about traveling.
Yes, and the more senses and emotions you add, the stronger the memory. Let's try a quick example with a new word.
All right. How about the word nervous?
Perfect. So instead of just saying nervous means scared or worried, we can use it in a sentence like, I felt nervous before my job interview.
Exactly. That gives a clear image. Now let's say it again with a little role play.
Bill, I can't eat anything this morning. I feel so nervous about my interview.
You'll be fine, Sarah. Just take a deep breath and do your best.
That makes it more real, doesn't it?
Totally. And if learners do this with their vocabulary, they'll remember words much faster. Just think. Word plus situation memory.
Also, try writing your own sentences using new words. Don't just copy from a dictionary. Create something personal.
Yes. Like, if you're learning the word delicious, don't just say delicious means tasty. Instead, my mom's cooking is always delicious, especially her chicken curry.
Now I'm hungry.
Same here. But seriously, that sentence is real, so your brain holds on to it better.
So the tip here is, always use new words in full sentences. Create short stories or scenes. Make it real. Make it personal.
And if possible, say it out loud. That activates your speaking memory too.
Absolutely. Okay, ready for tip number 2?
Let's go.
Now let's talk about something that sounds a little technical, but is actually super simple and powerful. It's called spaced repetition, or SRS for short.
Yeah. SRS is like magic for your memory. It's a technique based on how your brain naturally forgets things and how to fight that forgetting.
Exactly. Here's the basic idea. Instead of trying to memorize a word once and hoping it sticks, you review it several times, but with increasing time gaps in between.
So, for example, if you learn the word confident today, you review it tomorrow, then 3 days later, then a week later, and so on.
Right, every time you review it, you're telling your brain, hey, this is important, don't forget it.
And the cool thing is, you don't have to guess when to review. There are amazing apps that use spaced repetition for you, like Anki Quizlet and Memrise.
Yes, I personally love Anki. It shows you a flashcard, and then based on how easy or hard it was to remember, it decides when to show it again.
That's what makes it smart. If you struggle with a word, it will show it to you more often. If you remember it easily, it waits longer before showing it again.
And it really works. Studies have shown that people who use spaced repetition retain information much longer than people who just cram.
Plus, it only takes a few minutes a day. You don't have to study for hours, just review 10 to 15 cards in the morning and maybe again at night.
Right. Consistency beats intensity. A little review every day is way more powerful than trying to memorize everything in one big session.
And if you're old school and prefer paper, you can still do SRS manually. Just write flashcards and review them on a schedule. Day 1, Day 3, Day 7, and so on.
Exactly. It's not about the tool, it's about the timing. Review words just before you forget them. That's the sweet spot.
So if you've been struggling with remembering vocabulary, give SRS a try. It's one of the most efficient tools for long-term memory.
All right, up next, we'll talk about one of my favorite techniques, visual memory. Ready, Bill?
You bet.
All right, now it's time for one of my favorite tips connecting new words to images or emotions.
Yes. This one is so powerful because our brains love pictures and feelings. We remember things much better when there's a strong image or emotion attached.
Exactly. Let's say you're learning the word freezing. If you just memorize freezing means very cold, that's okay, but it's kind of boring.
But if you imagine yourself standing outside in the snow, shivering, your teeth chattering, you'll feel the word freezing, and boom, it sticks.
Yes, The more senses you use, seeing, feeling, even hearing, the more your brain locks in the word. It becomes real, not just a definition.
And you can do this even with abstract words, like let's take the word success. Picture yourself on stage, people clapping, you're smiling, you feel proud. That emotional connection helps your brain remember.
Totally. I always tell learners, don't just memorize the word, build a story around it, even a short one. That way, it's not just in your mind, it's in your heart.
That's deep, Sarah.
Hey, it works! And for visual learners, drawing little sketches next to new words can help too. Even silly stick figures can make a big difference.
And let's not forget, you can also use online images. Just search the word on Google Images. Seeing a photo of a sunset while learning the word makes it more memorable.
Yes, and emotions are key. Ask yourself, how does this word make me feel? Or when did I feel this way in real life?
Like for the word embarrassed, think of that moment you waved at someone who wasn't waving at you.
Oh no! We've all had moments like that. And that's exactly why emotional memory is strong. You'll never forget that word again.
So remember, listeners, if you want to memorize new words smartly, connect them with powerful images and personal emotions. That's how the word becomes a part of you.
Beautifully said, Bill. Now, let's get physical with our next tip, literally. It's time to talk about using your body and voice.
Let's do it!
So far, we've talked about learning words through context, repetition, and even emotions. But now comes the real test, using the words daily.
Yes! Because here's the truth. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly. Just like muscles, words get stronger the more you use them. That means speaking, writing, or even thinking in English with those new words.
Right. Let's say you learned the word curious. You can say something like, I am curious about how airplanes fly, or write it in your journal. Today I felt curious about photography.
And don't worry about making mistakes. That's part of the process. Just try to use the word in a way that's natural to your life.
I recommend keeping a daily vocabulary journal. Each day, pick 3-5 new words and write short sentences or even a mini-story using them.
That's a great tip. I also suggest talking to yourself in English throughout the day. For example, if you're brushing your teeth, say, I'm brushing gently so my gums don't bleed. Boom! You've used the word gently.
That's so simple and useful. Also, if you're learning with a partner or tutor, challenge each other to use your new vocabulary in conversations. Make it fun.
Even sending texts in English using those new words helps. Or posting something small on social media in English, it all counts as practice.
And let's not forget, thinking in English is another powerful trick. When you walk around during the day, describe things in your mind. The weather is gloomy. This coffee tastes bitter. My neighbor is very talkative.
Those little mental habits add up quickly. They keep the words fresh and active in your brain.
So, to summarize, learning a word is step 1, but using it in real life is how you make it yours.
Yes, speak it. Write it. Text it. Think it. Just use it every day, and soon you won't even have to try to remember it.
Coming up next, a super fun method that feels like play but teaches you a ton using word games and quizzes.
Stay tuned. All right, Bill, let's move on to another smart way to memorize new vocabulary, grouping words by theme or category.
Oh yeah, this one is super effective. Instead of learning random words like banana, justice, and window all at once, why not learn words that belong together?
Exactly. When words are related, your brain connects them more easily. For example, if you're learning words about the kitchen, you might learn Knife, spoon, stove, boil, recipe, all at the same time.
That's a lot easier to remember than jumping between totally unrelated topics. Your mind builds a word family or a network.
Yes, and you can group words by different categories like feelings, travel, office work, weather, clothing, or even emergencies.
And the best part is it helps you speak more naturally. Like if you're at the airport and you've already studied luggage, boarding pass, flight, delay, gate, you can describe the whole situation.
Right. It helps with real-life conversations. You're not just memorizing isolated words. You're preparing to talk about real topics.
Also, when you learn by theme, it's easier to review. You can create mini vocabulary lists, flashcards, or even mind maps based on the category.
Mind maps are awesome. You put a theme in the center, like shopping, then draw branches for words like discount, cashier, receipt, fitting room, and so on.
And if you're using apps, many vocabulary platforms already organize words by theme. Just follow those lists and practice a little every day.
So, to wrap this tip, organize your vocabulary learning. Themes help your brain find and recall words faster when you need them.
Coming up, we'll talk about how reviewing words out loud and listening to your own voice can improve both memory and fluency.
Yes! That's a fun and practical one. Let's get into it. Before we wrap up, let's go over a few bonus tips and also point out some common mistakes that many learners make when trying to memorize vocabulary.
Good idea. Let's start with a bonus tip. Use sticky notes. Write new words on them and stick them around your house, on the fridge, on your mirror, on your desk. You'll see them throughout the day without even trying.
I love that. It turns your home into a little English classroom. Another bonus tip, teach someone else the new word you learned. If you can explain it to someone, it means you really understand it.
Yes, teaching is powerful. Okay, now let's talk about a few common mistakes learners should avoid.
Number 1, trying to memorize too many words at once. Learning 20 words in one day sounds great, but if you can't remember any of them next week, it's not helpful.
Exactly. Focus on quality, not quantity. Learn fewer words, but learn them well.
Another big mistake is not reviewing. People think they'll just remember the word after seeing it once. Nope. If you don't review, you'll forget it quickly.
And one more. Only reading or writing the word, but never saying it out loud. You've got to speak it. Practice pronunciation and let your ears hear your own voice.
That's so true. So, listeners, remember, learn smart, not hard. Use small, daily actions and avoid these common traps.
And don't worry if you forget sometimes. It's totally normal. Just keep showing up and using the tips we shared.
Absolutely. In our final segment, we'll give a quick recap and share how you can start applying these techniques today.
Stay with us.
All right, it's time for a quick recap. Today, we talked all about how to memorize new English words smartly, not by cramming, but with strategies that actually work.
Right. Let's quickly go over the key tips we shared. 1. Use words in context. Don't just memorize definitions. Use the word in real-life situations. 2. Try spaced repetition, SRS. Review words at spaced intervals so they stick. 3. Connect words to images or emotions. Make learning meaningful and memorable. 4. Use the words daily in speaking, writing, even thinking. 5. Group words by theme or category. Build word families in your brain. 6. Speak the words out loud and record yourself. Train both memory and pronunciation.
Plus, we gave you some bonus tips, like using sticky notes and teaching others, and we warned you about common mistakes like learning too many words at once or skipping review.
And remember, don't stress if you forget a word. That's part of the learning process. Just keep going. Keep practicing. And trust that your vocabulary will grow naturally over time.
Exactly. Pick one or two of these tips to start with today and build from there. You've got this.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the English Learning Podcast. If you found it helpful, share it with a friend or leave us a review.
And don't forget to subscribe. New episodes come out every week. Until next time.
Keep learning and keep speaking English. Bye for now.
And that wraps up today's episode on how to memorize new words smartly. We hope these tips help you boost your English vocabulary more easily.
Absolutely. Remember, language learning is a journey, so be patient and enjoy every step.
If you liked today's episode, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new lessons.
And if you have any questions or topics you want us to cover, just leave a comment below. We love hearing from you.
Thanks so much for listening and practicing English with us. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye. Take care and keep learning.